Dragonslayer, a narrated story by Quest Sleep Stories. The Champions Guild. A place I'd dreamed of entering since I was a young adventurer, battling chickens and goblins in Lumbridge. Now, here I stood, a seasoned veteran with countless quests under my belt. But my eyes were set on a new prize, the legendary rune plate body. "Greetings!" the guildmaster boomed, his voice echoing through the grand hall. "Can I have a quest?" I asked eagerly. "Aha! Yes, a mighty and perilous quest fit only for the most powerful champions. And at the end of it, you will earn the right to wear the legendary rune plate body." My heart pounded with excitement. This was it, the quest that would solidify my reputation as a true hero. So, what is this quest? You'll have to speak to Oziak, the maker of rune armor. He sets the quests that champions must complete in order to wear it. Oziak lives in a hut by the cliffs to the west of Edgeville. He can be a little odd sometimes, though. Odd? That was an understatement. Oziak was downright eccentric. But I wasn't afraid of a little weirdness, not when a rune plate body was on the line. I found Oziak in his cliffside hut, muttering to himself about the quality of his latest batch of armor. "Can you sell me a rune plate body?" I asked, getting straight to the point. "So, how does thee know I have some?" He grumbled, peering at me suspiciously. "The guildmaster of the Champions Guild told me." Yes, I suppose he would, wouldn't he? "He's always sending you fancy-pants heroes up to bother me, telling me I'll give them a quest or summit like that. Well, I'm not going to let just anyone wear my rune plate mail. It's only for heroes. So leave me alone." I wasn't about to give up that easily. "I thought you were going to give me a quest." Oziak sighed dramatically. "All right, I'll give you a quest. I'll let you wear my rune plate mail if you slay the dragon of Crandor." A dragon? My pulse quickened. This was even better than I'd hoped. Not only would I earn the rune plate body, but I'd also get to slay a fearsome beast. Fame and fortune, here I come. "A dragon, that sounds like fun," I exclaimed, trying to mask my eagerness. "Ha! Yes, you are a typical reckless adventurer, aren't you? Now go kill the dragon and get out of my face." "But how can I defeat the dragon?" "Go talk to the guildmaster in the Champions Guild. He'll help you out if you're so keen on doing a quest. I'm not going to be hand-holding any adventurers." With that, Oziak shooed me out of his hut. I headed back to the Champions Guild, eager to learn more about this dragon-slaying quest. The guildmaster listened patiently as I recounted my encounter with Oziak. "The dragon of Crandor?" he repeated, his brow furrowed with concern. "Goodness, he hasn't given you an easy job, has he? What's so special about this dragon?" The guildmaster launched into a tale of devastation and destruction. Crandor, once a thriving island, had been reduced to ashes by the dragon Elvarg. Only a handful of survivors remained, scattered and scarred by the ordeal. "If you're serious about taking on Elvarg," the guildmaster concluded, "you'll need 3 things: a map to the island, a ship to get you there, and protection against the dragon's breath." My mind raced. This was no ordinary quest. This was a challenge fit for a legend, and I was just the adventurer to take it on. Armed with the knowledge of my quest, I set out to gather the necessary tools for this grand adventure. First on my list, a map to the island of Crandor. The guildmaster had informed me that the map had been split into 3 pieces, each held by a different survivor of the Crandor devastation. The guildmaster's words echoed in my mind as I approached Melzar's maze north of Rimington. The inside of his castle is like a maze, and is populated by undead monsters. Maybe, if you could get all the way through the maze, you could find his piece of the map. Easy for him to say. He wasn't the one facing down hordes of the undead. Still, the thought of that rune plate body spurred me onward. I gripped the maze key tightly and stepped into the gloom. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and an eerie silence hung over the maze. My hand instinctively rested on the hilt of my sword as I cautiously navigated the winding corridors. The maze was a bizarre and unsettling place, filled with strange remnants of Melzar's past. In one room, I stumbled upon a wardrobe crammed with dead rats. "Charming," I muttered, quickly moving on. Another room was filled with scorched toys and children's clothes, a grim reminder of the dragon's attack on Crandor. I shuddered, imagining the fear and despair those children must have felt. As I ventured deeper, the creatures grew more formidable. Ghosts flitted through the corridors, their spectral forms sending chills down my spine. Skeletons rattled their bony limbs, their empty sockets staring at me with unsettling intensity. But I pressed on, my resolve hardening with each encounter. Finally, I reached the heart of the maze, a dimly lit chamber where Melzar the Mad himself awaited. He was a wild-eyed figure, his robes askew, his hair a tangled mess. He cackled maniacally, flinging strange spells and muttering incoherent phrases. His words sent a chill down my spine. This wasn't just a madman. This was a man consumed by grief and vengeance. I knew I had to tread carefully. "Melzar," I began, trying to maintain a calm voice despite the pounding of my heart, "I don't want to fight you. I just need the map piece." "Map?" he cackled. "It's mine. It's all I have left. And you'll take it from me, just like they took everything else?" He raised his staff, and the air crackled with dark energy. I knew there was no reasoning with him. I had to defend myself. I lured Melzar into a chase around the room. I'd get in a hit, then dodge behind a pillar or shelf, forcing him to change direction. It was a slow and tedious process, but it was working. Gradually, I was wearing him down. "You can't hide forever!" he shrieked, his spells narrowly missing me. "Melzar will have his revenge!" But his attacks were becoming weaker, his movements less precise. Finally, with a desperate cry, he stumbled and fell, his staff clattering to the ground. I stood over him, my sword poised to strike, but he made no move to defend himself. "It's no use," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "Melzar is defeated. Take the map, and may it bring you nothing but sorrow." I sheathed my sword, a wave of pity washing over me. Melzar, in his madness, was as much a victim of Elvarg as the rest of Crandor. I retrieved the magenta key from his grasp and moved towards the final door. The lesser demon was a fearsome opponent, its fiery breath scorching the walls of the chamber. But I positioned myself in a safe spot, carefully avoiding its attacks. With patience and precision, I chipped away at its health, my arrows finding their mark. Finally, with a roar of frustration, the demon dissolved into dust. I retrieved the green key and unlocked the final chest, my heart pounding with anticipation. Inside, nestled amongst faded velvet, lay the first piece of the map to Crandor. 1 down, 2 to go. I left the maze, the weight of Melzar's words heavy on my mind. Was I doing the right thing? Was the pursuit of this treasure worth the risk of awakening Elvarg's wrath once more? With Melzar's map piece safely tucked away, I turned my attention to the second piece, hidden somewhere by the paranoid wizard, Thalzar. The guildmaster had told me to seek the oracle on Ice Mountain, a mysterious being known for its cryptic wisdom. Ice Mountain was a treacherous climb, the icy paths slick with frost and the air biting cold. Icy winds whipped at my face as I scaled the treacherous peaks, but I pressed on, determined to find the oracle. Finally, I reached the oracle's chamber, a cavern carved into the heart of the mountain. The oracle, a shrouded figure with an otherworldly aura, greeted me with an enigmatic silence. "I seek a piece of the map to the island of Crandor," I announced, hoping to break the ice, pun intended. The oracle stirred, its voice echoing through the cavern. "The map's behind a door below, but entering is rather tough. This is what you need to know." I leaned in, eager to hear the clues. "First, a drink used by a mage," the oracle intoned. "Next, some worm string, changed to sheet. Then a small crustacean cage. Last, a bowl that's not seen heat." I blinked. That's specific, I managed, trying to process the cryptic clues. This oracle was definitely fond of riddles, but with a bit of thought I started to decipher their meaning. A drink used by a mage. Aha! I remembered that strange wizard's mind bomb I'd found earlier. Maybe that was it. Worm string. Changed to sheet. Could that be silk? I'd have to find a merchant selling some. A small crustacean cage? A lobster pot. I'd seen those in Port Sarim. A bowl that's not seen heat. Unfired clay. I'd have to make a quick trip to my pottery wheel. With a renewed sense of purpose, I gathered the required items and returned to the dwarven mine, where the oracle had indicated the hidden door was located. I found the door tucked away in a secluded corner of the mine and carefully placed the items on it, one by one. The door swung open, revealing a small chamber containing a treasure chest. An inscription on the lid warned of the dangers of disturbing the dragon, but my desire for the rune plate body outweighed any fear. I retrieved the second map piece from the chest and emerged from the mine, the icy wind a welcome relief after the stuffy confines of the dwarven tunnels. With 2 pieces of the map safely in my possession, I set off to find the final piece. The guildmaster had told me that Lozar, the 3rd survivor of Crandor, had been killed by goblins, and her map piece was now in the hands of a goblin thief named Wormbrain. "He's locked up in Port Sarim jail," the guildmaster had explained. "You'll have to find a way to get it from him." I wasn't keen on dealing with goblins. They were notoriously greedy and treacherous creatures, and I had a feeling this Wormbrain wouldn't be any different. But I needed that map piece, and I was willing to do whatever it took to get it. I arrived at Port Sarim jail and found Wormbrain huddled in a dark corner of his cell. He was a scrawny creature, his eyes darting nervously around the room. "What you want?" he croaked, his voice raspy. "I believe you've got a piece of a map that I need," I said, trying to maintain a calm and assertive tone. "So? Why should I be giving it to you? What you do for Wormbrain?" "I suppose I could pay you for the map piece," I said reluctantly. "Say, 500 coins?" Wormbrain let out a harsh laugh. "Me not stupid, it worth at least 10,000 coins. I scowled. "You must be joking." "Fine, you not get map piece." I hesitated, weighing my options. 10,000 coins was a lot, but it was a small price to pay for the rune plate body. And besides, I'd earned a fair bit of gold from my previous adventures. "All right then, 10,000 it is," I said with a sigh. I counted out the coins, my heart sinking with each one that left my pouch. Wormbrain snatched the gold greedily, his eyes gleaming with delight. "Thank you very much," he cackled. "Now me can bribe the guards, ha 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 ha." I rolled my eyes and grabbed the map piece, eager to be done with this shady deal. As I left the jail, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of annoyance. I'd been played, but there was nothing I could do about it now. With all 3 pieces of the map in my possession, I was finally ready to set sail for Crandor. But first, I needed a ship and a captain. I traveled towards Port Sarim. I headed to the bustling docks, hoping to find a ship and a captain crazy enough to take me to a dragon's lair. I spotted a sailor named Clarence lounging by a rather dilapidated-looking ship. "So, are you interested in buying a ship?" he asked, gesturing towards the vessel with a flourish. "Now, I'll be straight with you. She's not quite seaworthy right now, but give her a bit of work and she'll be the nippiest ship this side of Port Khazard." I pondered, eyeing the ship skeptically. "Why is she damaged?" "Oh, there was no particular accident," Clarency explained. "It's just years of wear and tear. The Lady Lumbridge is an old Crandorian fishing ship, the last one of her kind as far as I know." A Crandorian ship. This was exactly what I needed. "I'd like to buy her," I declared. "Of course," Clarency exclaimed, rubbing his hands together. "I'm sure the work needed to do on it wouldn't be too expensive. How does 2,000 gold sound?" I winced. That seemed a bit steep for a ship with wear and tear, but desperate times called for desperate measures. I handed over the gold, and Clarence grinned, throwing in his cabin boy, Jenkins as a bonus. "So what needs fixing on this ship?" I asked, eager to get this show on the road. Clarence pointed towards a gaping hole in the hull. "Well, the big gaping hole in the hold is the problem. You'll need a few wooden planks hammered in with steel nails to fix it." Fantastic, just fantastic. I gathered the necessary materials and set to work patching up the ship. Hammering planks, driving in nails. Who knew shipbuilding was such hard work? Finally, with the hull repaired and the ship somewhat seaworthy, I was ready to set sail. Now all I needed was a captain. Finding a captain willing to sail to Crandor was like finding a needle in a haystack. A haystack on fire, guarded by angry goblins. Every sailor I approached seemed to have a sudden urge to discuss the weather, their pet parrot, or anything but sailing to a dragon-infested island. "Crandor?" they'd say, their eyes widening in horror. Keep yourself away from that accursed place, if ye values your skin." One captain, a grizzled old sea dog named Ahab, even offered his condolences, convinced I was sailing to my doom. "Right sorry I be to see a fine young lad like yourself go off to your doom," he lamented. "Thanks, but I'll be fine," I assured him, trying to sound more confident than I felt. After countless rejections, I was starting to lose hope. Maybe I should just learn to fly and skip the whole boat thing altogether. Just as I was about to give up, the cabin boy, Jenkins, offered a glimmer of hope. "There is one captain I reckon might help," he piped up. "I heard there's a retired un who lives in Drainer Village who's so desperate to sail again he'd take any job." Drainer Village? That was practically next door to the Wizard's Tower. Maybe this retired captain had a thing for blue robes and pointy hats. I shuddered at the thought, but decided to give it a try. In Drainer, I found the retired captain, Ned, in a small cottage surrounded by coils of rope. He looked more like a kindly grandfather than a seasoned sailor. "You're a sailor?" I asked hopefully. "Could you take me to the island of Crandor?" Ned's eyes lit up. "Crandor?" he exclaimed. It would be a chance to sail a ship once more. I'd sail anywhere if it was a chance to sail again." He paused, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. Then again, no captain in his right mind would sail to that island. "You only live once," he declared, slapping his knee. "I'll do it." Finally, a captain willing to brave the dangers of Crandor. I grinned, feeling a surge of excitement. With a ship and a captain secured, I was one step closer to facing Elvarg and claiming my rune plate body. With a ship and a captain secured, it was time to face the final challenge, acquiring protection from Elvarg's fiery breath. The guildmaster had mentioned a special shield, held by the Duke of Lumbridge. I hoped this duke was more agreeable than that grumpy Oziak. Lumbridge Castle was a familiar sight, its sturdy walls a comforting presence. I found Duke Horatio in his chambers, looking every bit the noble leader. "I seek a shield that will protect me from dragon breath," I declared, bowing respectfully. The Duke raised an eyebrow. "A knight going on a dragon quest, What dragon do you intend to slay?" "Elvarg, the dragon of Crandor Island," I announced proudly. The Duke's eyes widened. "Elvarg? Are you sure?" "Yes," I confirmed, puffing out my chest. "Well, you're a braver man than I," he exclaimed, a hint of admiration in his voice. "So, are you going to give me the shield or not?" I asked, eager to get my hands on this dragon breath-defying artifact. The Duke smiled. "If you really think you're up to it, then perhaps you are the one who can kill this dragon." He handed me a heavy orange shield, its surface shimmering with an otherworldly glow. "Take care out there," the Duke said, his voice grave. "If you kill it, for Sarah Dahlman's sake, make sure it's really dead." I nodded, clutching the shield tightly. With this final piece of the puzzle in place, I was ready to face Elvarg and claim my long-awaited rune plate body. With the map in hand, the ship repaired, and the anti-dragon breath shield strapped firmly to my arm, I felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through my veins. It was time to face Elvarg. I boarded the Lady Lumbridge, where Captain Ned awaited, his eyes sparkling with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Ah, there ye are," he boomed, his voice echoing across the deck. "Ready for an adventure, eh? Though I must admit, this be the first time I've sailed towards a dragon rather than away from one." I chuckled. "Well, Captain," I said, "that's what makes this voyage so special, wouldn't you say?" Ned let out a hearty laugh. "Aye, that it does. Now then, let's see if this old girl can still handle a bit of a challenge." He clapped his hands, and the crew sprang into action, hoisting the sails and setting our course for Crandor. The journey was surprisingly smooth at first, the sea calm and the sun shining brightly. But as we neared Crandor, dark clouds gathered on the horizon, casting an ominous shadow over the island. "Blimey! Looks like a squall brewin', Cap'n," Jenkins, the cabin boy, warned, his voice tight with worry. Before Ned could respond, a monstrous shadow swept across the sky, blotting out the sun. Elvarg! The dragon circled the ship, its eyes burning like molten gold. With a terrifying roar, it unleashed a torrent of fire, engulfing the Lady Lumbridge in flames. Jenkins cried out as the flames consumed him, and the ship groaned under the onslaught. "We're doomed!" Ned shouted over the roar of the flames, his face pale with fear. "Not yet!" I yelled back, pointing towards the rocky shores of Crandor. "Land ahead!" With a deafening crash, the ship ran aground, splintering against the jagged rocks. I was thrown from the deck, landing hard on the ash-covered beach. Dazed but determined, I picked myself up and surveyed the desolate landscape. The volcano loomed in the distance, its peak shrouded in smoke. That was where Elvarg awaited. I navigated the treacherous terrain, battling skeletons and dodging fiery geysers. Finally, I reached the entrance to the dragon's lair, a gaping maw in the side of the volcano. Inside, the air was thick with the stench of sulfur, and the ground trembled with Elvarg's heavy footsteps. I crept through the cavern, my heart pounding in my chest. There she was, the monstrous dragon, her scales gleaming in the flickering torchlight. Inside, the air was thick with the stench of sulfur, and the ground trembled with Elvarg's heavy footsteps. I crept through the cavern, my heart pounding in my chest. There she was, the monstrous dragon, her scales gleaming in the flickering torchlight. With a roar, I charged into battle, my sword a blur of motion. Elvarg lunged, her jaws snapping, but I rolled aside, narrowly avoiding her fiery breath. The cavern echoed with the clash of steel and the dragon's furious roars. I ducked and weaved, my shield deflecting her attacks, my sword finding its mark again and again. Elvarg thrashed and roared, her claws tearing at the cavern walls, but with each strike, I felt her strength waning. Finally, with a mighty blow, I plunged my sword deep into her heart. The dragon let out a final agonizing roar before collapsing to the ground, its life extinguished. Exhausted but triumphant, I emerged from the lair, Elvarg's head held high. I had done it. I returned to Oziak, my armor singed and my body weary, but my spirit soaring. "Have ye slayed that dragon yet?" Oziak grumbled, his eyes narrowed. "Yes, I have," I declared, dropping Elvarg's head at his feet with a resounding thud. Oziak's jaw dropped. You actually did it?" he stammered, his eyes wide with disbelief. "I underestimated ye, adventurer," Oziak admitted, a hint of respect in his voice. "You're a true hero." He finally, grudgingly, pointed towards a rack filled with gleaming rune armor. "Go on, then," he said. "Take your pick. And don't even think about asking for a discount." I beamed, my heart swelling with pride. This quest had been a wild ride, but the rewards were well worth it. I carefully selected a rune plate body, its weight reassuring and its power undeniable. I was ready for whatever challenges Gielinor threw my way next. If you enjoyed this dragon slaying story, then I hope you can find the courage to slay that like button. If there are any quests you would like transformed into a Quest Sleep story, then make sure to let me know in the comments. Have a good one and see you on the next episode of Quest Sleep Stories.